Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/relationship advice, where OP's parents threaten to write him out of their will if he doesn't join their religion. Our first Reddit post comes from New Replacement 5, titled, I told my parents, 54 and 49, to write me, a 26-year-old female, out of their will if I had to become a Christian to inherit it. My parents, 54 and 49, have started planning what to do with their assets once they pass away, and have asked me, a female 26, to be the executor. I recently had a conversation with my mom that left me in a daze, and I'm still trying to process everything that she said. She was talking about how she would like to set up their will like Dave Ramsey did. Apparently, Dave Ramsey sat down with his kids and told them that any inheritance that they would receive would be used for God's will, and if they didn't align with those values, they wouldn't inherit anything, that they were in or they were all out. As soon as she explained that, I felt my defensive walls go up. I have a lot of religious trauma, and the thought of being asked to become Christian or pretend to be one just to receive an inheritance felt like too much. I told her that if that's what they wanted to do, she should write me out of her will now because I will not be bribed into becoming a Christian. She said it wasn't a bribe, but more like a business. Her logic was that you wouldn't let someone inherit a business if they didn't hold the same values as the business. I told her that I still see it as a bribe, and that it feels like an attempt to dictate my life now and even after they die. I made it very clear that even if her millions of dollars are on the line, I would not be becoming a Christian for money. Now, I don't regret what I said, but I also still can't believe I said it. I couldn't believe that I was basically saying no to a not insignificant amount of money. I feel like I acted authentically, but I'm scared that I might regret it one day. To add some context, my religious trauma started in middle school when I was kicked out of the house for being disrespectful. My parents printed out a bunch of Bible verses to justify their actions, telling me it was both right and righteous to kick me out. In response, I wrote an essay supported by Bible verses to show them why what they did was wrong, but my dad dismissed it and said he'd only accept it if it came from a pastor, not me. That was the moment I began doubting my entire religion. Over the next few years, I thoroughly read the Bible and asked questions of religious leaders, trying to find answers. In the end, I came to the conclusion that the Christian God was either malevolent or grossly misrepresented by man, and that Christianity as a whole went against many of my personal beliefs and morals. Throughout middle school and high school, I was kicked out multiple times, and I lost a lot of faith in both the church and my family during those years. My relationship with my grandparents didn't begin to repair until I was diagnosed with cancer. During that time, they apologized for their actions, and we started rebuilding our relationship. My relationship with my parents has been much better since then, which is why this conversation about their will frustrated me so much. To make things even more complicated, I'm now wondering if I should tell them to choose someone else to be the executor of their will, like one of my siblings who are actually Christians. I feel like it's unfair to be expected to do all the work if distributing the money if I'm excluded. I also don't want to put myself in a position where I might be tempted to take something that, quote, isn't mine. I'm just so conflicted. On one hand, I don't want to sacrifice my values or who I am. On the other hand, I can't stop questioning if I'm making the right decision. I know I'm not entitled to my parents' money, and I would have a hard time pretending to be something that I'm not, but I feel a lot of anxiety in my decision. Has anyone been in a similar situation? Do you have any advice? How do you process something like this? OP, you're stronger-willed than me. I know a lot of people that would just convert while they're alive and then go back to whatever they were doing after they passed so they could get the money. I think there's also a lot of other trauma to unpack here. They kicked you out in middle school when you're probably 11 or 12 years old. Where did you go? How did you fend for yourself? Did they even care where you went or check up on you every time they kicked you out? Kicking you out that young seems like one of the most ungodly, evil things that someone can do. You're a better man than me, OP. If I were you, I would have built a family very, very far away from them and never talked to them again. Our next Reddit post comes from Blue Sausage 111, titled, I've recently discovered my husband may be potentially cheating on me. I need help deciphering the evidence that I discovered. I have been married to my husband for over 15 years, and just recently I have discovered some potential evidence suggesting that he may be involved with infidelity. On date night, my husband decided to take me to a restaurant that he usually visits. However, it's his first time taking me. After the dinner, I decided to make small talk with the waitress. She ends up mistaking me as a friend of my husband's. I correct her and say that I'm his wife. She looks startled and glances at my husband, questioning him, saying, "Your wife doesn't usually look like this." I am beyond shocked because it could only mean one thing: that she's seen him bring another woman into this restaurant and that they've been intimate enough to suggest that they are in a relationship. I was angry at him on the way home, and he keeps insisting, "If I was cheating on you, I would never bring you to the same restaurant that I've brought my mistress to." I needed reassurance, and instead he got frustrated at me when he should be helping me with this misunderstanding. Well, hopefully it's a misunderstanding. Am I being delusional about this situation? For some background information, my husband and I have not had passionate hugging for over a year, which I find very unusual. I have never turned him down. Therefore, I suspect he must be receiving some pleasure somewhere else. I never thought my husband was the kind of man to partake in infidelity. He has always been so kind and honest to me. However, I am finding more and more evidence to suggest that he may be cheating on me, and I'm wondering if I'm being delusional here. OP, you even said yourself, you're finding more and more evidence here. Trust the evidence, and don't let him off the hook. I suspect what happened here at the restaurant is that the waitress was trying to not make a scene, but also clue you into what's going on. I think it's time to start checking everything. Check his phone, his text messages, maybe his emails, if he has a work phone, his work phone, and if he is OP, I'd leave him. Our next Reddit post comes from Paleotilogius Dry 703, titled, "I was demanded a prenup from my partner at the very last minute." So, me and my partner are long distance. I'm in the UK and she's in the US. We've been together for about 4 years, and we agreed that I would move over there for a number of reasons. So, in the UK, I have a great career in professional sports. I live in an upscale area, and I have a great prospect. We recently filed for a K1 visa for myself, which was approved in record time. Part of the reason we went for a K1 visa is because although I work as a performance chef in pro soccer, U.S. immigration does not count it as a skilled labor. Wild, I know, I have 2 degrees for this. And otherwise, the conditions for a chef visa are basically unattainable for most people. So my visa got approved, and suddenly my partner demands a prenup. The issue is that beforehand, I was leaving my job, my home, my family and friends. I was giving up a state pension pot that I paid into for over 20 years, but I needed to pay for 35 years in order to qualify for a payout. We're basically talking over $300,000 as of right now and $700,000 at retirement. I was also in the process of spending the majority of my life savings to get myself and my possessions over there. It turns out it's a very expensive endeavor. I was basically making all of those sacrifices as I just wanted to start a new life with her. She then starts talking about how she needs to protect the money she earns. She quoted her pension even though she's only been in her job for 6 months. Keep in mind that I'm sacrificing a 20-year contribution. I feel like this was a slap in the face, considering what I was sacrificing, and a prenup would only favor her since I was burning the majority of all of my own assets just to be with her. She even talked about marriage like a business contract, and I explained that if I'm putting in 85% equity as a risk and the other party then decided last minute that they wanted lawyers to reduce their own risk to 0%, why would any business agree to that? She then started talking about how the statistics mean divorce could be likely. She says we should talk about divorce because it's healthy to do so even though we haven't even gotten married yet. Is this an American thing? Seems like that contributes to the US having one of the highest divorce rates in the world. I hated the fact that I was taking a substantial financial hit and it wouldn't even be reciprocated because it was never about the money for me, and now she's making it all about the money. I had a discussion with her, and it just seemed like she doesn't understand that I'm supposed to make a life-changing leap of faith that if things went wrong could land myself deported, jobless, homeless, and penniless, while she has no risk or consequences for her. She would literally lose nothing while I could literally lose everything. She doesn't seem to understand how that can make a person hesitant, as she brought that up right at the point that I got accepted for my visa, right when I put all my trust with her. No questions asked, and then this prenup demand doesn't make me feel like I'm trusted in return. She's telling me that it isn't that deep, like the sacrifices that I've been prepared to make mean almost nothing. I just want to know people's thoughts on this. OP, it's kind of hard to judge because we don't know a lot about the other girl. Like, is she an investment banker? Has she only been at her job 6 months because she manages like portfolios and makes $200K a year? Or is she like a receptionist somewhere? Like, we don't know. But on the other hand, at the very, very least, this seems very sketchy. It almost seems like she may not want to get married, or maybe she's not ready and she's almost like self-sabotaging this for some reason. I don't know, OP. Either way, I would be very, very hesitant to give up everything you have to go over there before finding everything out. Our next Reddit post comes from Buffy1998, titled, "I am embarrassed by my boyfriend's social ineptness, and it's really starting to stress me out. Let me start by saying that when my boyfriend and I are alone, it's great. He's present, engaged, and I love spending time with him, and our conversations are so deep. I feel so comfortable with him, more so than any other person in my life. We share similar interests, and we genuinely have fun together. I love him, and in those moments, it feels perfect. But things change when we're around other people. For a lack of better word, he embarrasses me. We've been together for 7 years, but he's only met my family a handful of times because I'm constantly stressed about how he'll behave. When we're with others, he says things that make me cringe. He even engages in political talk when it's clearly not the right setting. He monopolizes conversations, can't seem to read the room, and constantly makes everything about himself. For example, if someone shares a story, he'll immediately turn it back to something about him without even realizing it. He even forgets basic manners sometimes, like he will talk to his friends the same way he talks to my mom. The worst part is, he doesn't even seem to realize he's doing it. I've brought this up multiple times, and while he always apologizes and he says that he doesn't notice, it keeps happening. It feels like it's a never-ending cycle. At this point, I'm starting to feel so stressed whenever we have to socialize as a couple, and it's making me question if I can deal with this for the rest of my life. I don't know how to bring it up in a way that might actually lead to change, or if change is even possible. Has anyone else ever dealt with a similar situation? How do you handle this without hurting your partner or feeling resentful? OP, maybe it's time to try some type of counseling. Maybe couples counseling? Maybe someone else other than you needs to talk to him to try to actually get through to him. But if all else fails, just remember that your happiness is paramount to your life. It's okay to admit that although you still love someone and care about them, that you just might not be socially compatible with someone. But I would try the counseling route first. Like, if you love him and you care about him, it's perfectly fine to try to exhaust all of those options before giving up on him. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/relationship advice. Thank you for listening, and if you like these stories, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we put out new Reddit videos almost every single day. And to everyone that's already subscribed, thank you for your support.